Hey everybody, Matt Zerby here from Wasco Nursery, and I am actually out in California this week, visiting wine country and staying at a lovely little resort, and they've got absolutely gorgeous grounds here, and so I thought I would give you a little tour and show you some of what I have found and some neat plants, and you'll probably recognize more than a handful of them. A lot of them, oddly enough, even though I'm here in Sonoma County, California, are actually hardy back in Illinois, and then of course plenty of them are not. So let's take a little tour. I'll show you around. So right here by the front entrance to the hotel is one of my favorites. I wish these grew by us, but they do not. This is called Nandina, or heavenly bamboo. Really cool plant. I've used these in some landscape settings out near the coast before, like specifically the East Coast. Very popular out there in New Jersey and New York coast, that kind of area. So very cool plants, awesome fall color. You can kind of see that really neat raspberry coloring there. On the wall behind, you may recognize that from the walls of Wrigley Field, is Boston ivy. It's been very dry out here in California, as you may be aware. So you're starting to see even some fall color starting in on a lot of plants, actually, not just these. Down in the middle, you've got some sedum, and it's funny, even here with a very significant prolonged multi-year drought, even in California, people overwater their plants. So that's actually what's happened to that sedum back there, is it's been overwatered. Same with these little echeverias in the front. Some of those have been getting a little too much water. So there is an irrigation system that runs throughout here, from what I can tell. Got a friendly cat that apparently lives here. And right over here is a beautiful fig tree. So unfortunately, figs, even the Chicago hardy variety that you'll see, are not quite winter hardy in Illinois, although we're awfully close. And if you get very, very protected, you may get lucky. But otherwise, they do make a wonderful house plant. So you can grow figs at home. We sell them. They're great. In fact, we have, while we've been here, had some wonderful fresh figs. So that's been really nice. A lot of more common perennials we've got some onions or chives of some kind here. We've got catmint and yarrow, which are of course common by us. This is one of my favorite salvias. I grow this one at home every year. That's black and blue. They've got so far that I've seen, two different species of hummingbirds here that just are basically a constant presence around the resort, and they've been frequenting these as well as a bunch of other trees. This is one of my favorites. This is actually a southern magnolia. My guess is that this is one called Bracken's Brown Beauty. These are actually, we're just right at the edge of their hardiness zone in Illinois, but it's an evergreen magnolia, so the leaves stay green all winter long. The top is very dark green, the bottom is almost brown and fuzzy. This is also the same one that we use a lot in winter, like floral arrangements and Christmas holiday planters, things like that. So really pretty tree, but it's got these big, beautiful white flowers. Some of them are still in full bloom around here. The flowers fade to kind of this leathery color, which is also still kind of neat. Very big flower, fragrant. And here it's completely evergreen. By us, if you get it into a protected location, it will actually stay green during the winter time, but oftentimes will desiccate and drop foliage. And in a really bad winter, you might experience some dieback. So, that not a great tree for our area, but pretty neat plant. One of the other ones that I've kind of thought was pretty cool is this one right here, which is just a regular old Acer rubrum, or red maple. So this would be similar to like our red sunset or red point. I have yet to figure out. I'm assuming it has something to do with moss or algae or something like that. But in the western states, the maples, and by us, tend to have a very silvery bark, and I know it's kind of hard to see here, but in like Colorado, California, etc., They have a very whitish colored bark. Same exact tree that we grow, but just grows completely different back in Illinois. So there's a couple of really nice ones of those. Kind of walk through here. Have not been super impressed by the hydrangeas here, which is odd because you'd think that they would do really, really well. But they've got some lovely plants, but they look very similar to what ours look like at home, which is a big, heavy plant with no flowers. I've seen a couple flowers, but you know, there's a bud right there. But haven't seen a lot of buds on those. The southern magnolia, again, right here, a big, beautiful one with some really nice flowers. The roses are absolutely gorgeous here. We'll take a little walk around the other side because there's some really cool stuff around this corner. This is one of the trees that the hummingbirds have basically been camped out in. I'll show you this one because it's a little bit easier to see. So this is a tree they call, it's called the strawberry tree. So you can kind of see those pieces of fruit hanging on there, which sort of look like little strawberries. And the flowers on this tree, I don't know if I can get close enough to show you a flower, but they're a very, yeah, here's some flowers, maybe I can show you. They're really reminiscent of the flowers on a blueberry shrub. And they have a little, almost like sort of tubular balloon type shape to the flower. And so the hummingbirds, with their long, narrow beak and long tongue, can get in there to get nectar out. And so they've been all over these trees. In fact, I believe there's a couple up in that tree right now. The rhododendrons here are absolutely gorgeous. Of course, they do really, really well, as does the agapanthus, which is a great tropical plant for the patio, really easy to grow. So that plant right along there, that's the agapanthus. It's also known as lily of the Nile. Lily of the Nile will get big, beautiful purpley blue or just pure blue flowers on it most of the summer, spring and summer by us. It's a perennial here, so they use it a lot in the landscape. There's many different varieties. There's a whole bunch of it over here. So very, very cool plants. In the back is oleander. There's a bunch of different types of oleander here, which are poisonous, but absolutely beautiful. There's reds, pinks, and whites mostly. Really enjoy seeing those. They're also a good, plant for the pool deck or patio. They do have to be brought in the winter, of course, or treated as an annual. Of course, the olives grow really, really well here, so they're all fruited up really nice. We've had some great local olive oil while we've been here. This is a plant that you might recognize from annual containers, and we're right on the edge of its hardiness zone. It's called Gara. It's very perennial here. Back home, we're right on the edge, and some people have really good luck with it, and some people don't, as far as it coming back from year to year. This is another agapanthus here, but this is a variegated agapanthus. Not real common back home at all. And this has been a really pretty plant to walk by every day. So this is a variety of rosemary, so the fragrance is awesome. You can see the pollinators absolutely love it. So this is mostly honeybees that are on here right now, and they are just very, very happy. And again, as I've probably, I think, mentioned in the past, honeybees have work to do, so you don't have to worry about a plant that attracts honeybees because they are not the aggressive bees that are going to sting you. I am actually allergic to bees, and this doesn't bother me one bit. I mean, these guys are just buzzing around. They're looking for their food. They've got work to do, so they're not going to bother me. I believe this is actually a type of, there's some creeping rosemary. This one is not the straight creeping variety, but it obviously has that arching stem to it. We've seen quite a bit of very low creeping rosemary, and then some big upright varieties as well. But it's in full bloom. It smells great. There's tons of new growth on it. Ready to just snip some of that off and harvest it. So that's really pretty. There's a lot of Formium here. Some really nice big varieties. Of course, again, these are perennial here by us. They would be an annual. We use these in tropical containers, either solo, just by themselves, or in a mix. Obviously, they're not going to get this large in one season. So these are, several years old for sure. But they do look lovely in a container back home. In the back there's a bunch of lavender. They've got English lavender, French lavender, and Spanish lavender growing all over the place here. Smells really, really nice. There's another, that's a white Gaura, and then another kind of pink bicolor Gaura right there. And then over here is a little mix that basically could look like it could fit right in Illinois, aside from the little bit of sage that's in there that wouldn't survive the winter. But a bunch of various types of Echinacea, and then what looks like moonshine yarrow. There's another yarrow behind it, and then there's a sage here, which we have salvia. Salvia and sage are all the same family. This one would not survive our winters. In the back is a really big Augustaceae or hyssop. So this one, again, smells really good. Almost smells like licorice. And then there's a really big sage in the back there, which again wouldn't survive our winters, but some pretty cool plants in there. And then right next to it is just an arborvitae. Just again, this really looks like it could be northern Illinois. Got gorgeous wisteria here. The wisteria is mostly done blooming, but I've seen a bit of flower here and there. But of course, wisteria does well by us in terms of the vine and the overall growth, but it does not flower particularly well in northern Illinois. So it's kind of hit or miss. In a mild winter, you'll get really good flowers. In a tough winter, the flower buds will be damaged, but the plant itself will survive. So if you're just looking for coverage, like on a pergola, shade for a pergola or something, wisteria is a great plant. If you truly want it for the flowers, you definitely want to try to find some of the hardier varieties, Ant D or Summer Cascade. Some of those are a little bit hardier plants for our general area. Here's some more Nandina, the heavenly bamboo, right over here with that beautiful pinky color. Again, another one of my favorites, but just outside of our hardiness zone, so that one's not going to do well. As I mentioned before, the roses are absolutely gorgeous here. They do a really nice job of maintaining these grounds. There's some white oleander in the back as a little hedge right along the parking lot, and then some big, massive fountain grasses, which are really nice at this time of year. Of course, those will do just fine by us. I don't think that particular variety does well by us, but the fountain grasses, the penniseedums, do pretty well, especially if they get a little winter mulch and are kept on the dry side. Big, beautiful roses along here, and then more wisteria in there. And just kind of wanted to round this off a little bit and show you just a couple of other things. This isn't even really the half of it, but just a really beautiful property. But I thought I'd show you these. These are coastal redwoods. So these are the ones we got to spend a bit of time yesterday in the Armstrong State Forest, which has some absolutely mammoth coastal redwoods. Coastal redwoods, if you're unfamiliar with them, are a very, very old variety of tree. These trees have been around for thousands of years. In fact, there are several in California that are upwards of 2,000 years old, maybe even a few of them that might be more than 2,000 years old. So the average lifespan on these is between 1,000 and like 2,200-ish years. So they are very, very long-lived. The wood is very resistant to rotting, so it's unfortunately one of the reasons why it was so heavily used, and basically these areas were deforested for the timber, because that redwood was so valuable for construction and things like that. So they were deforested, but big, beautiful, rot-resistant trees, 300-ish feet tall, really, really pretty. If you ever get a chance to see them, it's well worth it. Was actually one of the reasons that I wanted to come out here, was to see the redwoods. I have never seen them before, and to say that I was in awe of them would be a massive understatement. They were absolutely spectacular and well worth the wait. So those are cool. Beautiful agave of some kind right here. The hummingbirds were all over this one before too, because again, it's got that nice little tubular flower in there, so you kind of see that. It's a really pretty one, and as I mentioned, they're in a drought here, and so you're starting to see a lot of fall color already. But one plant that absolutely loves the drought is Lantana. I've been getting a lot of questions about this back home, because a lot of people have noticed that their Lantana have not bloomed very well this year. And the reason that Lantana have not bloomed very well in northern Illinois is because we have gotten very, very, very regular rainfall. And especially in a time of year, July and August, and now into September. But July and August, which normally tend to be hot and dry, we had very regular rainfall, so that soil never got super hot and dry the way that Lantana would like it. And so you're just not seeing a lot of great flowering on those. There's a little dwarf Lawson cypress. That's one that is not hardy by us. I see it sold at, I see this one and some more upright varieties of this sold at some of the box stores around us. And what'll happen is, in a normal winter, the plant may survive. In a slightly harsh winter, it'll usually die to the snow line. So if the snow was here, everything from here down stays green, and everything from here up dies. And if it was a big pyramidal plant, then you end up with, the lower 1 or 2 feet survives the winter, but the upper 3 or 4 feet dies. So it is not a sustainable plant for us at all. I don't recommend those. They're very pretty plants, but we are just outside of their hardiness zone. If you want to see what the drought has done, you can kind of see along there. I think talked with several different vintners here over the last couple of days, and they were telling me that they're basically on year 3 of drought. So it has been very, very dry for them. This is a beautiful lavender. This is actually they harvest this lavender, so all of this has been trimmed back. So this is just lavender all the way around here. So it's actually a really cool property, because it's a working farm, as well as a hotel and resort. So they've got a couple of restaurants here. It's called Vintners Inn in Sonoma County, and beautiful property. They have, I don't know how far of a walk. I guess it's not too far to walk across here. So they have olive trees all throughout the property, and they harvest the olives off of those. In fact, there's some here in the parking lot. This is kind of the rear parking lot. And so they've got olive trees all throughout. They harvest those. They have huge areas of lavender planted. And the lavender, they're harvesting that for soaps and drinks and all that kind of thing, fragrances, whatever. We'll walk around this tiny little wetland. This side of the resort is more recent, and so a lot of this was just planted, not quite as exciting, but it will be given some time. But we'll walk around here. And just show you a bit more. So that lavender that I showed you before comes all the way around the property. So there's, just hundreds and hundreds of lavender shrubs all around the perimeter of the property. And so they will harvest these at this time of year after a year of nice healthy growth. They will harvest that, and just really, really pretty. And then this is also part of the property. So they have beautiful vineyards here on site, and they just, according to some of the winemakers, they've been harvesting now for a couple of weeks. Some of these are ready to harvest. Some of them are still not quite. So they will come through, pick the bunches that are fully ripened. And like some of these right here, down here at the bottom, these are ready to go down here. So those will be picked about this time of year, and then they'll get destemmed and pressed and fermented and turned into wine. I believe most of this particular section, I believe this is all Zinfandel right in here, but we've seen Merlot and Zinfandel and Chardonnay and many others, and it's been Pinot Noir. They make a lot of Pinot Noir out here. We spent some time in the Russian River Valley that is known for Pinot Noir. So really very cool property. They do farm to table dinners out here, and so just really a lovely place. There's a big weeping olive there, and here's one of my favorites. This is another one that we sell in the greenhouse that we are just on the edge of its hardiness zone. That is passion flower, and I think that it is one of the coolest, weirdest looking flowers out there. Just really almost alien like with the, like, you know, it's got the little like spots like orchids do, and just really a cool plant. So there's a lot of that growing around here as well. And just miles and miles of rows of grape. Interestingly enough, they do have a handful of butterfly bush. So we'll show you, this big one right here. So there's two very large butterfly bush right here. And I say interestingly enough because this is one that people give me a hard time about sometimes about selling at the nursery, because they've read that butterfly bush are invasive. Well, they're not invasive in Illinois at all. I have never seen them go rogue. In fact, they're hard to get to even come back, let alone get them to come back and spread and be aggressive. But in California, they are trying not to use them because they tend to be invasive. They are a foreign plant and are not supposed to be growing here, but they still use them pretty frequently from what I can tell, because I've seen many of them around this resort as well as just some of the other places that that we've been to. A little burned out Japanese maple up top. That would be something like Crimson King, which is Crimson Queen Japanese maple, which is a very similar variety to or a variety that we grow back home. But because of the heat that they have had here, we timed it just perfectly. Last week was all in the 105, 110 degree type temperatures, and it cooled down just in time for us to get here, which was very nice, very welcomed. It's a big planting of lamb's ear, which is immaculately kept, which is hard to do because lamb's ear kind of requires a lot of care. In fact, there's a little section there. That's what I typically see lamb's ear do, which is just kind of get kind of nasty looking, and the leaves sort of get all wilty and crunchy, and then you got to clean it out, pick it off. But really nicely kept lamb's ear. This is definitely this is a Zinfandel for sure. Here they tend to be much bigger, older vines along there. I guess that last one probably wasn't Zinfandel. I know this section here is. So very, very pretty. Miscanthus grasses all along this little dry creek bed, and we'll come around because there was just a couple other things that I want to show you. Their boxwood here are gorgeous. They obviously have no issues with winter burn here on their boxwood, and so they have lovely boxwood hedges all throughout the property. And this is a plant over here that I would love to grow, but we can't. Kind of get a little closer here. This is a plant called osmanthus. Sort of looks like a holly, and it's variegated. This particular one is variegated. Really cool plant, makes a great screen or hedge, foundation shrub, things like that. Very common out here, but we're outside of its hardiness zone, so those don't do well at all. I showed you agapanthus earlier. Most of it wasn't blooming, but there are the nice pure blue flowers of the agapanthus, or lily of the Nile. And lastly, I wanted to show you the beautiful crepe myrtles, which there's a big kind of pinky purple one right there, and then some beautiful red ones. We probably get asked for crepe myrtle more than any other tropical, well, it's not really tropical, but I guess it's tropical plant. We again are just outside of the hardiness zone. You'd have to go about 5 hours south of our area in order for crepe myrtle to survive the winter. So people can use them as an annual by us. They are beautiful. There's dwarfs, there's shrub forms, there's tree forms, there's reds, whites, purples, and pinks. And just very, very cool plants. They have this beautiful exfoliating bark. You kind of see that these different colors and sort of flaky bark along there. So very, very popular landscape plants out here. You can see these are, kind of more tree form here, and that one in the background that I showed you was a shrub form variety. So very cool, but beautiful property. Some big sycamore trees right there, but just thought it would be fun to just see a few different things that maybe things that we grow as tropical annuals, like this right here is actually a little hedge of passion flower. So obviously these are plants that we're growing back home as annuals, and we get to see them that are 2, 5, 10, 15 years old, and see what they can really do in multiple seasons. So a lot of fun, and it's been a neat experience for me to be out here, and I hope that you enjoyed me sharing it with you. So thanks for taking the time.